Hey, Maggie.
Hey, what?
Why did the banana go to the doctor's?
I don't know. What?
Because it wasn't peeling well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is episode 167, and I'm your host, Stephen Dutzman. As always, this is the official video game and board game podcast for EngageFamilyGaming.com. EFG is a website where parents like myself and my co-hosts come together to give everyone the information they need to get their family game on. This week, it's me and Amanda again. How are you, Amanda?
I'm doing so good right now. I love podcasting with you. What else do I need?
I mean, food, water,
I have water. So
okay,
I'm fine.
good.
I just ate. I made
Good.
pot pie.
Oh man, I'm jealous. So to be specific, you are Amanda Farrow, managing editor of. Oh man, you're managing editor of one site, editor in chief of another. I will always screw them up. Which one are you which one are you the alpha and omega of?
I'm technically the alpha of both now.
Alpha
we just
and-
haven't.
Alpha
I'm just
and
alpha and omega.
Okay. All right. So you run two important websites on the internet, one of them being GameDaily.biz, which is a business-focused website, and another one which is a consumer-focused website dedicated towards parents, not unlike my own, called superparent.com. That is not how we discovered each other, but it's how we would have discovered each other if you were not already my hero, mentor, and savior.
That's why we're besties.
That's why we're besties. I was only a little sad that my better became my competition, but then we weren't competition. Now we're just friends.
Now we're just buddies.
That lasted maybe 15 minutes. I had 15 minutes of salt when you told me. I'm not going to lie.
That's fair.
This is just for the audience. I was like, ah, crap. I may as well start writing about like war games or something. But then I said, we'll be fine. I'll just rope you into being my podcast. So, if I could, we have breaking news.
Okay.
So did you get a thing about a new Nintendo Labo kit earlier on that you knew about?
I did
Okay,
get a
so
new
breaking
thing.
news for us, because it's out and announced, April 12th, Nintendo Labo is a VR kit.
It is.
Wow.
Yep.
Um,
So it's introducing shareable, simple VR gaming experiences.
so basically Nintendo Google Cardboard.
Kind of. It kind of looks like Nintendo Google Cardboard at the same time. It is very interesting. They're calling them Toy-Con VR goggles.
I'm really excited about that. There's one where you can be an elephant.
Cool. Yeah, it could be super cool. It's coming out
April 12th.
April 12th. It'll be available. The full VR kit will be available for $79.99. And there is also a starter set with a blaster that will be available for $39.99, which looks like it doesn't come with quite as much.
Yeah, it's just the goggles and the
But
blaster.
it's just the goggles and the blaster. Anyway, it looks interesting, and they'll have a couple of other expansion sets that are going to be available. And
Oh, the bird! The bird!
Yeah.
Finally, the bird.
Yeah,
And there's one that's an elephant. I do like the lower price point for just the goggles and the blaster. Wow, how cool is that? Okay, so that just kind of popped across my desk. I am very excited about that. So you knew, I guess.
I saw the email come in, yeah.
Yeah, I did not get one of those, but I did. My universe exploded. Somebody shared it at me. Big week for me. This weekend, at the time that many of you will be listening to this, Evan and I will be on our way to the Vermont State Magic the Gathering Championships. So we are going to be competing. He's going to be going to his first quote-unquote real Magic tournament. The most he has ever done is a pre-release. So going to a tournament where there's going to be like filling out your deck list and random deck checks and all sorts of other stuff Going to be very intense.
Magic tournaments are super intense, and it's been 20 years since I've done one.
Yep, they're crazy. I have warned him, but that's why we're going to Vermont, because we expect that it will be, well, number one, because my brother is there, but number two, because we expect that there will not be as many people there, because it is Vermont. So I'm hoping there will be like 15 people and a cow.
Okay.
And that makes it basically a Friday Night Magic in Connecticut. So that's what we're hoping for. But we're going to have all sorts of coverage there. I'm going to be going live on Facebook in between every round. We're actually going to have a table at the floor, so Facebook is going to be all over the stuff. I'm hoping to interview a judge and get some like real advice for parents to prepare their kids for tournaments. This is going to be a whole lot of fun for us. But it's also a big week because this is the first time that you and I get to communally yell about Pokemon.
It's true. There's going to be a lot of yelling. Just prepare yourselves. We're sorry in advance, but also at the same time entirely not sorry.
Yeah, entirely not sorry. With that said, John's going to lower our levels specifically for that segment so we don't hurt anybody. But before we do that, we do want to take a moment to thank everybody for listening. We hope the games you've been playing have been great. I know I've been playing basically Tetris 99 and just that, which is amazing. And I know Amanda's been playing some great games too. We do want to make our podcast as interactive as possible. So please feel free to reach out to us on social media, or the best way, send us a message on our Facebook page. Our community manager, Jeff, is back in full swing, so he will respond to you.
Hooray, Jeff!
And yeah, hooray, Jeff. He's back. He still has no answer on his test because he's got to wait like a year and a half or some shenanigans. It's torture. But in the meantime, he's working for me. So he will send your feedback on over and give us your ideas, your questions, your concerns, your topic suggestions, etc. So now that we've gotten some of the rigmarole out of the way, shall we go around the horn?
Oh, yes, please.
So I have but one game that I have played. So, and I know you have a few. So why don't you share some information with us? What have you been playing?
I have been playing so many different games this week, and that's unusual for me because I feel like I only get to play games on like Friday afternoon, which is when I do Ready Player Mom over on Super Parent. But I went to an event. I got myself a phone, like a new phone, which is amazing. And I've been playing a bunch of mobile games, like games that I was thinking about playing but didn't want to play on my 2, almost 3 generations old phone. So I ended up picking up Alto's Odyssey, which is, I think, a year old at this point. I think it's about a year old. And
Ish.
and I played Alto's Adventure on iPad, I think in like 2015 or something like that. I loved that game. So I've been really thoroughly enjoying sand surfing, like I'm playing Journey all over again. So Journey was a PlayStation 3 game that came out a number of years ago, remastered for PlayStation 4 by that game company. One of my very favorite games in the whole world because it's so emotional and beautiful. But anyway, so now I
coming soon to PC on the Epic Game Store.
That's very true. It is. Great game though, lots and lots of fun, very emotional. So now I only have like the sand surfing level, but like in a whole game, and it's an endless runner. So that was really fun. I was doing that, and I've been playing Thumper, and Thumper is described as a rhythm violence game, which is odd. I guess that's what it's called. It's like super hardcore music where it's a rhythm game, and you have to. It's also kind of like an endless runner.
Okay.
So you like tap the screen to the music, and then you flick your finger back and forth to go left, to go right, and like hold it down to. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's very difficult. I'm not very good at it. So I've been playing that. I've also been playing Treasure Stack on the Nintendo Switch, which I picked up last week for Ready Player Mom. I am incredibly bad at it.
I'm
very bad.
Okay, so I want to say this because I watched that stream. So for the people who are just to catch up on some of your descriptions, Alto's Odyssey is amazing. We have played it here. It is, however, one of those games where eventually the challenges get really impossible. So we actually got stuck on the wall grinding because it is. Because eventually you get the ability to grind on walls, and there are some challenges that are just really, really hard because the controls are relatively imprecise. However, whatever, we played it for like 7 hours before we got to that point, so like who cares?
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a great game.
That is a mobile game? Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. And Thumper I played in VR. That's the only time I've ever played Thumper. And that was an intense experience. I'm kind of glad that I'm done with it. I think I might actually really like it more on mobile, just because it was a really...
it's so intense in VR from what I've heard.
No, it's super intense. It was like one of the first VR games I played, so it was like, hey, this is insane. So now that we're caught up, Treasure Stacker, for those that are curious as to what the heck we're talking about, it is a block-dropping puzzle game where the blocks are treasure chests, and you control a person on the ground with a grappling hook. And your job is to run around, climb on these stacks of treasure, and the different treasure chests are colored in a certain way, and keys will occasionally drop, and your responsibility is to get the keys to be adjacent to the same color block. So get a blue key to the blue block, purple key to the blue block, purple key to the purple block, etc.
Right. And so you're combos as much as you can.
And you need to combo just like any other, columns or Tetris, etc. What's challenging is you have to platform amongst these things at the same time. The grappling hook is really that's like your hard drop in Tetris. It's like you can kind of grab it and move it kind of where you are, so you have a little bit of diagonal movement, but not much. The thing that I saw, and I know you're saying that you're very bad, and I understand what you were saying, but I'm going to call you on your crap. Because I don't necessarily think that you are that bad. I think that game does not do itself any favors, because at its heart, it is both a puzzle game and a platformer.
Yes.
And I believe that...
And it's janky controls, by the way.
Yes. So that's what I was going to get at. I was watching you struggle with your inputs, and you're not an unskilled gamer. You've been doing this for a long time. So you're struggling with the inputs, and you can't struggle with inputs with a puzzle game. The whole point of puzzle games is to reach a flow state and just go. That's why Tetris 99 works the way that it does. You have 100 people-ish just entering flow, and those who get there faster win. And so this game deliberately pulls you out of that because you have to platform, and the real issue is the platforming sucked.
Kind of did. I mean, you're not wrong.
So, I thought it was an awesome concept, but I think the platforming really took away from it. How much was it? It's like $15, right, on the eShop?
Yeah, it's about that.
So, for $15, if you absolutely must have every puzzle game, I think, sure, why not? But for anyone else, I think that you would be better off, especially on the Switch, spending $20 for a year of the Switch Online and just playing Tetris 99. Because even if you play Tetris 99 essentially as a single-player game, which, by the way, you can... The fact that, you lose every game of Tetris that you've ever played anyway, unless you're playing the Grandmaster Edition and you're a speedrunner, at which point you're not listening to this show. But, you lose every game of Tetris you're playing anyway, so just play it and just go with that. It's just strictly a better game. I know you gave yourself a lot of crap. I don't think that it is your fault. I think it is just not a great game.
I would tend to agree with you. I had high hopes for this game. I checked it out at PAX West at the Nindies event last year. And it looked really interesting, but I figured it was going to be a challenge and that maybe the challenge was going to be my problem. But the platforming element of it is inelegant and it gets in the way. Honestly, if you want to play something that fast-paced and you don't necessarily want to play Tetris 99 because you're not looking to play competitively, because it can get kind of frustrating, especially if you get targeted. My suggestion is playing a game like Tumblestone. And Tumblestone is, again, it's an older game. I think it might be on Switch.
Yes, it is. It's on everything. It's definitely on Switch.
Okay, because that's a great game.
Tumblestone is amazing.
Talk about a great puzzle game. Tumblestone is fantastic.
Also, a very nice team that does it.
Right?
Team that makes Tumblestone is very nice. They were one of my fun facts. Tumblestone was one of my very first appointments as a member of the press. So it holds a special place in my heart. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, great, I'm playing just a puzzle game. And I played it 2 years in a row. And they remembered me, which was surprising, because I'm kind of like, in the video game space, I'm somewhat generic. I know you like to call me on my crap, but come on. How many white dudes with thick glasses and goatees are there? Let's be real. Lots of us.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I'm just saying, and I don't mean that as an insult. I don't mean that as an insult. I'm saying I'm kind of generic. That is a problem, but I can't help it.
We are not talking about diversity in the game industry today, and as a matter of fact.
Nope, we're not. So anyway, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm generic. But they remembered me. So yeah, I definitely recommend Tumblestone instead. You know, we talked off air about play this, not that, right? Play Tumblestone, not Treasure Stacker, and don't give yourself crap. I mean, it was a bad performance in that game, but I think that game did not help you.
It really didn't help me. I'm a much better. You watched me play Tetris 99. I'm a much better Tetris player.
I have seen you play all sorts of games, and you are definitely better than that. And like I said, I think it was it just needed a little bit more time in the tank, honestly, like a little bit more polish on the platforming. But I think it was a puzzle game, and they just didn't have anybody there that really knew how to make snappy platforming controls. Give it to Yacht Club. They'll remake it, and it'll be better. I know they won't actually do that, but I know Yacht Club would do it better. So I want to talk about Tetris 99 because I have a confession to make.
Oh, what's your confession?
My confession is that I don't think I can play Tetris 99 around my children anymore, thus making it not a quote-unquote family game.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, I probably will continue to do so because my kids enjoy taunting and tormenting me while I play.
As children do.
Oh, man, my kids talk so much junk. But, so they...
Trash talk kids.
Yeah. Well, and fans of the show know that my kids definitely talk a lot of junk. But what I have found myself doing is, like, I really struggle... because I cannot get into flow. I cannot reach the flow state in Tetris. And for those listening, the flow state, it's kind of a weird concept, but the idea is you complete challenges at such a rate that as they escalate in difficulty, you kind of get your set and your mind set so that you just kind of continually flow through them. It's something that happens in video games. It happens technically in everything. If you've ever found yourself getting in the zone at work, that's what you're talking about. You reached a flow state where you're just completing your challenges and moving forward. Tetris is all about that, and I cannot achieve that state if there is any noise. Or even worse, any movement in my peripheral vision. So what I struggle with is I will be playing and one of my kids will get up and leave the room, and they won't even be talking to me, but they'll get up to leave the room to like go get a soda or something, and that will be enough to snap me out of it. And the problem is when I snap out of a flow state, it is really frustrating, and so I have found myself getting frustrated, which makes it harder to play the game. The one thing that I am going to try is sitting closer to the television, which is not great for my eyes, but it's worth it for Tetris. So I might try that, but I think the lesson that I want to impart here, because this is I'm not just throwing myself under the bus and saying I'm a bad parent, because I don't think that's the case.
You're not a bad parent.
But if you are playing games together, everybody has to recognize their limitations, things that they don't enjoy, things that they don't like. Some people, no matter what they do not like playing competitively with their kids, or they don't like playing cooperatively with their kids because their kids are difficult to work with. You have to know your limitations and just mold around it. And so knowing my limitation that I cannot play Tetris without getting into the flow state, because that's the whole purpose, without them ceasing to be children, I have to either accommodate for that, or I have to just not play it and let them play it, or let my wife play it and just kind of appreciate it. And I think that that's okay. I mean, obviously it's okay. But I think that I want all the parents listening to also recognize that that's okay, not just for them, but for their kids. And I think that's important too. Like our kids have limitations. They have restrictions. And they have things that they might not, they have boundaries that they don't know exist. And so maybe when your oldest is playing a really hard boss, maybe they really just need maybe they can't do that when everybody's in the room. And maybe that means they need to change when they play that game. Or maybe everyone needs to be polite and just, let them fight the boss. That's up to your family to figure out how that works and what your boundaries are. But I think it's okay to have limitations. Not everybody plays video games the same way. I think that makes sense, Amanda, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we all play games a different way. We all
Of course.
succeed in different ways.
Yep.
And we all get frustrated for different reasons. So I thought I would throw that little, that was a teachable moment for me.
Yes.
And so I'm certainly not going to stop playing Tetris 99 because it is very light. I mean, I'm being very real here. Like right now, it is far and away my game of the year. I know it's only February, it's only March, but like I'm looking at it's Pokemon and that's it for family games. There's a lot of other stuff.
We're waiting for Animal Crossing.
But Animal Crossing could get pushed to 2020 and Nintendo wouldn't care. I mean, and I said this on something that we posted up on the Engage Family Gaming Facebook page today, that Nintendo has a stacked year without Animal Crossing. Now, if Animal Crossing hits 2020, which I know they said that they want to, and I'm sure that that's currently their target, but there's a lot of 2020 left. Like, if it comes out this year, it's just insanity. But if they left, I mean, people would be disappointed, but they would still have a banger of a 2019 capped with 2 Pokemon games, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So Tetris 99 is insane. Like, it's Pokemon or bust for me. Maybe Animal Crossing, and maybe something that that hasn't been announced yet. But everything that I think could be coming that hasn't been announced yet just isn't coming this year, right? Like Halo could maybe sneak in because those are Teague now, so that puts them in the conversation. But I don't think Halo Infinite's coming this year. You know what I mean? But like that's the kind of game that they could be like, hey, check it out, it's coming out this year. Maybe Dreams.
Oh, Dreams is great.
But here's the question about Dreams. This is totally a weird tangent for those people listening. Dreams is a natural evolution of Little Big Planet, and it's by the same company that makes it, and it is play, create, share, taken to the nth degree. They basically made a game engine and are selling it for $30. We're going to buy it because my middle son wants to just create lots of versions of himself and let people put him in games.
That's fair.
And I'm kind of okay with like a bunch of people making games with models of a little kid with blue hair. I think that could be fascinating. But so maybe Dreams if it turns into something interesting. But like, I don't know, man. Tetris 99 is so good. I'm not going to stop, but I am going to be more careful with the way I play it because I'm sensitive to the fact that what's the point of playing Tetris and telling everyone to shut up and then no one else can do anything while I'm playing? That's not fair. So I'm recognizing my limitations.
That's fair. Proud of you.
So thank you. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. So, I'm sure I'm going to share this into the Engaged Family Gaming community. I'd like to hear your thoughts on, knowing your own limitations in games. So, or message them to us, tweet at us, etc. Because I'd like to hear if you've ever made that realization and what you did. So, off of that serious subject, as serious as that can be. I mean, it's kind of serious, but whatever. Let's talk about Pokemon.
Oh man, can we please talk about Pokemon? I want to talk about Pokemon.
You've been like, oh my god, I want to talk about Pokemon basically since it was announced.
So bad.
Okay, so, tell us about Pokemon. There's a news story. For those of you listening, we're going to put the link in the show notes. Superparent.com, which is a website Amanda is at least vaguely aware of, has a pretty significant rundown from by Brandy, who is
who's the managing editor.
And she basically gave a rundown of all of the information that we know. So that's kind of the core of what we're going to be talking about today. Amanda, why don't you take it away? Tell us what we know about Pokemon 2019 right now.
Okay, so what we know about Pokemon 2019 right this second is that it is the next core installment of Pokemon. So last year we had Pokemon Let's Go, right? Mm-hmm. Which was a melding of the core Pokemon series and Pokemon Go, and they put it together into a game and they called it Pokemon Let's Go, and it was lots and lots of fun, but it was lacking depth. It didn't have what core Pokemon fans wanted. So Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, which is set in the Galar region, which looks a lot like England, by the way, the English countryside. Is made up it's made up of a bunch of different areas. There are forests, there are snow-covered mountains, there are cities. There's a lot to look at, and it looks gorgeous. So there's 2 different versions of the game. We don't know too much about what's in those 2 different versions, but just like Pokemon has always done, there are 2 versions of the game. We know that there are new starter Pokemon. So there is Grookey, which is your grass type. And that is a chimp Pokemon. Grookey is super cute. That's going to be the one that my partner Mike is going to choose. Grookey for life. There's Scorbunny. That's your fire type Pokemon. Scorbunny is a rabbit. I will be choosing, of course, Scorbunny.
Okay.
And then there is Sobble. And Sobble is adorable and looks very sad. And Sobble is a water type lizard Pokemon. So we don't know too much more about what's going on with the new Pokemon, like what other Pokemon characters, or what other pocket monsters, rather, that you're going to be able to capture, right? They are called pocket monsters. Isn't that interesting?
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, they're Pokemon.
I know, but that is core right there, man. They used to call them pocket monsters even in Japan.
Yeah,
so
okay.
That's the basic rundown here. We got all of this information on Pokemon Day, which was on February 27th, which was really, really cool. There are a bunch of other things that happen on Pokemon Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we know about Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's supposed to be coming later in 2019. If I had to guess, this is going to be a November release. We'll find out more during their E3 Nintendo Direct.
I would hope.
I'm likely not going to find anything out before then. If they don't, they'll likely do another Nintendo Direct just for Pokemon toward the tail end of summer.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, alternatively, this is the kind of game where they could just put up a picture of a Pokemon, and that's an announcement. So I would be stunned if they don't use various social channels to to share some stuff. But I think but I agree with you. I don't think we're going to find out anything substantial until E3, but I think it's at least a little bit likely that we'll see drips and drabs. I don't think we're going to know about the next evolutions of these starter Pokemon until much, much closer.
Yeah, we'll likely find out probably a month, maybe 2 before it actually comes out.
Yeah, I think that was about the timing when we found out last time. Yeah, all right. I'm actually going through, because we actually did a poll on the Engaged Family Gaming Facebook page. So which version? So while I look for that information, Amanda, which version are you buying?
I am. Well, we're getting both in our household because we have multiple gamers. But
yeah, we're getting both too. But which one are you playing so far?
The one that I'm gonna probably end up playing is Shield.
Okay, same. And so you already told us your starter. I am actually going to wait to decide because I want to know the typing of the evolutions. I am but probably Scorbunny because he's a rabbit.
So cute.
Yeah, all 3 of them are cute.
They were all really cute.
I may go with Sobble just because it'll make better Instagram pictures, especially if I refuse to evolve him, and just have him be like a max level little sad lizard guy. For sake of information,
that way about Litten.
Yeah, Litten was pretty cute, but then he turned into a pro wrestler, which is kind of okay.
Which was pretty great.
So, the Facebook page we did a poll to see who was buying what. 65% said as of now, obviously this is all subject to change, that they were planning to purchase and or play Sword. 35% said Shield. However, multiple comments were people being like, well, we're buying both, or they refused to vote because they wanted to see what the legendaries were, and that was going to determine their decision. And I think that is certainly fair, because legendaries, one of the biggest differences between the different Pokemon games historically has been legendary Pokemon that are available in each one.
Yep.
And they're right on the cover, so it's not hard. It's not ambiguous. It's like, do you want this crazy monster or do you want the other crazy monster? For example, Sun had a giant robot lion, whereas Moon had a magical robot bat. And was it a bat? Was it a robot? It was arguably robot, but not as
kind of robotic.
But not as much as Solgaleo did. But that's because Solgaleo was steel type, so he was a robot. So we don't know. If you want to dig deeper into some of the information that is available, here are some places that I would recommend. Number one, go to Pokemon Sword and Shield's article on Super Parent. That gives you everything. It's got some cool videos, whatever. If for nothing else, give them the click. But also, I would encourage you, IGN actually has a wiki right now, and their wiki team happens to have...
They are amazing,
by the way. Yeah, well, I mean, they have a rabid Pokemon fanatic on their wiki team. And she managed to, and I'm sure that Nintendo did it intentionally, or that Pokemon Company, but they gave them a very high-res version of the Galar region map, to the point where she has been able to zoom in and like really catch details. Like, for example, somewhere on that map, there is a wall etching of Doug Trio. So Doug Trio confirmed for the Galar region. So, like, little stuff like that you would not see. Like, for example, at the top of the map, there are two cities that are walled, that have big, kind of what look like intimidating walls surrounding them with a big open area in between them. Very, like, kind of Game of Thrones-ish, like... So it's like, what's going on there?
About to say.
So there's a lot of stuff hidden in that map, and she is going through it pixel by pixel to talk about what it could mean. And, because she can do that. By the way, the she that I'm talking about is Miranda Sanchez. And she's at Havoc Rose on Twitter. I've only met her once. I did actually meet her. Every time my daughter does something cute Pikachu related, I tweet it at her. Because she told me that that's what she wants me to do. When I showed her a picture of my daughter's Pikachu Halloween costume, and she was like, always sending me these pictures. And I was like, all right, you're going to have some random moron on the internet sending you pictures. Granted, probably not the only random idiot that sends her Pikachu pictures. So we did do another poll to ask some folks about which Pokemon they were going to choose. Interestingly enough, it is clearly... No. It is clearly tied between Sobble and Scorbunny. With that said, the people who were down with Grookey were, like, they are a small but fierce contingency. So I actually, this is one of those things where I really feel like these three starters, at least their opening evolution, like, everyone, like, I don't think that it's necessarily even, but, like, at the beginning of Sun and Moon's hype cycle, it was Rowlet or bust. I'm sorry, right? Like, there was only one choice. I know, you like cats. But whatever, Rowlet was...
I don't like cats, that's the thing.
That's so weird,
but I thought Litten was adorable.
Yeah, but Rowlet was a little fat owl with a leaf bow tie. Don't at me. He was adorable. But how about this? Everyone universally was like, what's up with Poplio? Right? Like, Poplio was not well loved. Whereas now, all three of them, at the very least, you have to agree that all three of them are cute.
Yes, agreed.
What I'm really interested is, I want to know what they do with Grookey's stick. Grookey has a stick in his head, which is like, kind of holding up his top knot.
Yep.
Historically, if they have had like a foreign object with them that stays with them and evolves otherwise, I bet you Grookey's going to turn into like a wizened sage, like wizard Pokemon kind of thing.
Or a monk of some kind. It would end up being a fighting type.
So he's going to be like Rafiki?
Maybe.
Wait, let's be real. If it turns into Grookey is just grass type Rafiki, I'm in.
I mean, that's it. I'll have to change it.
Yeah.
Rafiki is clearly amazing.
Can we talk very briefly about the fact that they said he's a chimp Pokemon and chimps don't have tails? Can we just at least say that? I understand Pokemon don't have to be scientifically accurate, but guys, chimps are apes. Apes don't have tails.
Apes, not monkeys.
Monkeys
have tails.
That's fun fact. I LARP. You know this. There's a character that I used to play with, and his name was Enko, and he was a chimp person. Like, you can be animals that are like anthropomorphic animals, and he was a chimp. And anytime anyone referred to him as a monkey, he would get very angry, and he would say, "I'm not a monkey, I eat monkeys." And so when I saw them calling Grookey a chimp, but he had a tail, I immediately thought of him, because it was ingrained in me. I don't know why.
Fair.
So yeah, this is just so exciting. Have you read about any of the cool rumors?
I have not. So because I'm a business journalist, keeping up on rumors tends to bother me. So I just don't read rumors. I wait until things are confirmed, or until I can confirm with myself.
Can I share one with you, or would it annoy you?
Yes, absolutely may.
Okay, because on my show, you're not a business journalist. You're my friend.
I am not.
I mean, I can't like take your profession away from you. But you're my friend.
I hold that hat up at the end of
That's
the day.
fine.
And then I put my other hat on. I have my EF gaming hat on now.
That's fair enough. So I have those. I should get you one. So I do in fact have EF gaming hats. So they're very nice. They have Nike logos on them and stuff. So the word on the street, and this was posted on Reddit before the announcement by someone who also said that it was going to be called Sword and Shield. And
was that Mike Minotti?
I don't know. It was someone. Okay. I have not dug super deep into this, and I'm only sharing this because I find it interesting and potentially amusing. I don't know that this is true. However, this was read on Kind of Funny Games Daily by Tim Geddes, and he said that he believes that it is true. And he would not say such things if he did not believe so, but it was shared on Reddit by someone who also predicted that it was going to be called Sword and Shield, and it was going to be in a place that was similar to England, and that it was going to have a monkey, a rabbit, and a lizard. Like, he pretty much had everything.
Unbelievable. But
not all of this. Like, it was 80% there. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a break. And so in this post, they predicted that one of the new mechanic things was going to be armor. Meaning there would be armored versions of various Pokemon, which makes sense because it is set in a place that is similar to England.
True.
It is Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield. If you go to the Pokemon website, this is where it gets a little extra deep. If you go to the Pokemon website, it says Forge Your Destiny. Now, I'm just saying, it's swords, it's shields. Armor is, if it's not true, then sure. But it doesn't necessarily it would not surprise me. And I think an armored Pikachu would be amazing. Also, so that is
potentially OP.
And we don't know what the mechanics are, but yeah, it'd be great. That is one of the pieces. The other thing is apparently some kind of new type of Pokemon that is not actually a Pokemon that battles, but that it is a Pokemon that is a part of your 6 in your party, but they're like an elemental that will latch onto another Pokemon that you have in battle and either give them or change a secondary type. So, for example, you could have a fire spirit and equip it to, say, a grass type Pokemon, and they could be grass fire. But only if you have that thing. But that means that it does take up a spot in your party. The reason why I think that would be cool is because, for the most part, casual players use one Pokemon. Casual players use one Pokemon, and the other 5 Pokemon slots are wasted because they don't really use them. They might build a party, and they might have like a second one just in case, but for the most part, when my kids plowed through Sun and Moon, they had Litten, and he turned into a giant pro wrestler, and that's what they did. And they do that, and I've done that in every Pokemon game I've gone. Like, I try and build these complicated teams, and at the end of the day, it's who's my big beastly guy, and then I just punch him in the face. Like, how many people just beat an entire game with Greninja? Because why not? So, I think the idea... because he's a ninja frog. But so I like the idea of if they were to do that. And again, this is all theory, folks, but feel free to talk to your kids about it. I'm sure they'll be amused. But the idea of using one of your 6 slots for something that would be even useful on your primary Pokemon. I think that actually is kind of cool because it's neat. Like on a competitive level, it gives them a bunch of different typings and changes everything. Really, on the competitive level, it changes everything. But it also gives something to casual players because now it's like, oh, okay, I've got my dude, like my starter that I love, and I can do other stuff because, frankly, you could have a whole group of those other things and augment them. So I think that's kind of neat. If for nothing else, even if that is not the case, what it told me and awakened me to the fact that there is still plenty of design space in Pokemon, and they're not done. Like, because that's, even if they don't do that now, that could be the next time, Gen 9, Gen 10. So, yeah, Pokemon is not getting stale. The comments on the internet about this just being the same old Pokemon. I'm like, sure, maybe, but like, that doesn't, but they always do something different. And I don't know where anybody got the idea that this was going to be like the Breath of the Wild redo of, like, that's what I heard. Like, oh man, this is supposed to be like the Breath of the Wild
with Pokemon. Like, it just that would not work.
By the Breath of the Wild, they mean like a complete reimagining of what the game is supposed to be. And I don't think that makes sense for Pokemon because Pokemon is good because they execute on the formula perfectly every single time. And it is what it is. For me, Pokemon is what it is. Like, at this point, if you don't like it, just don't play it. Yeah, there's plenty of other video games, but Pokemon, like, for my kids, I've actually never finished a Pokemon game because they're long and I have a lot of stuff to do. But I love them, right? And so I'm certain I'm going to love this one. And that's the way they respect. There was someone that commented that they don't understand why the Pokemon Company doesn't respect their property by giving it a chance to grow. And I'm like, the Pokemon Company respects the Pokemon property by delivering specifically what it is. And they do offshoots. They did Detective Pikachu. They did the Let's Go series. And they could theoretically make like a more hardcore thing, but like I don't think that needs that because Pokemon's for kids, guys. Like, anyway, Pokemon be a children's game, and we are adults who love it, but that's because we love things that are unabashedly for children because we understand joy. Like, not everything I play has to be God of War. I can love that. But I don't need everything to be that. Sometimes I just want to summon a lightning rat. So, yeah, that's Pokemon. What other did you have any other thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Shield?
I don't think so. I think that we pretty much covered it. I'm eager to see what they announce next in terms of, what else that they'll reveal about the region and what else they'll reveal about some of the more specific Pokemon that are in the game. I mean, like, yeah, the legendaries are important, but we're getting both of the games, so I'm not super concerned about that. Yeah. What I'm more concerned with is I just want to know more about the world. I don't think I've ever really seen the world fleshed out like this before. It's not that Pokemon Sun and Moon felt empty because it didn't, but it didn't really speak to me. I played in the region and it was okay, but it didn't really grab me like Pokemon X did.
Yep.
And I'm excited because I think that Pokemon Sword and Shield will have that stickiness, if you know what I mean. Like, I think that it'll hook me and it'll keep me interested because the world is lush and beautiful and the starters are great. And yeah, so I'm eager to see what else they're going to reveal about it because I think that's really what's going to sell me.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't heard the villains yet. We haven't. There's a lot of stuff we haven't. So what's interesting is they did a 7-minute video, and it was mostly about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and they really did a great job of revealing a lot of stuff, but leaving a lot of the big stuff out, which is just it's one thing that is remarkable about the Pokemon Company. They are really, like, their marketing team. They are really good at delivering a message, giving just enough. And then, in a couple of weeks, definitely follow Pokemon on Instagram and Twitter. Because this is where it's, especially over the summer. I think over the summer, like when kids are out of school, you can also, if you, for some reason, you don't want to follow them on Instagram, you can follow me because I'll tell you for sure I'm going to be regramming all those Pokemon pictures and sharing them. So this is going to be a great, like I said before, and I said it before they announced it, and now it's here. The Pokemon Sword and Shield hype cycle has started. This is a great time to be alive. I love leading up to Pokemon games. So we will certainly be talking about it. It's a great place to talk about it, Amanda.
Is it in our community?
Yep, the Engaged Family Gaming community, which you can go to by going to engagedfamilygaming.com/community. We're actually, speaking of the community, as of the time of this recording, Amanda, we are at a very interesting, we're very close to a milestone.
Tell me more.
We are at 299 members in the Engaged Family Gaming community. And so
Amazing.
Somebody's got to be number 300. It is growing. I just met one of the new members today on the internet who runs you would appreciate it. She runs a webcomic called Noob Mom. So we're going to start sharing her some of her pictures because they're really funny. I think you would love all of them.
I'm going to go check them out.
Yeah, no, you absolutely should. It's Noob Mom, but there's zeros.
Oh, even better.
She is your people. We're getting close to 300 members, and we're only going to keep growing. And also, because it's March, you definitely want to get into the community because starting in April, people in the community are eligible to be Engaged Family Gaming ambassadors, which are some things that we're going to be some missions we're going to be asking people to take out to help spread the word. And people who are Engaged Family Gaming ambassadors will be eligible for a monthly giveaway. So you definitely want to get in there so that you can get a bag with some swag and some games every month. Because that's going to be fun, I think.
Agreed.
Wholeheartedly
agree.
Yeah, our post office is going to hate me, or they'll love me, but one or the other. So let's take a break. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this little thing called a theory of fun. How about that?
I'm into it. Let's do it.
All right, folks, we'll be back in a minute. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is still episode 167. We're still talking about video games. It occurs to me I never said that at the top, but it was pretty obvious when we started talking about Pokemon. And I'm still here, joined by one of my best friends in the world, Amanda Farrow. And so before the break, we talked about Pokemon a lot. So hopefully you learned everything you wanted to know so far about Pokemon. Very curious. Who else is excited? Head on into the community and share with us. Now, I want to talk. I have a little. I sprung a new topic on you this afternoon because you were prepared to talk about Pokemon
and yell a lot.
And we pretty much did. I mean, we were somewhat reserved. I mean, as reserved as one can be talking about Pokemon. But I wanted to talk about a book that I have called A Theory of Fun by Raph Koster. Now, this is a really good book. And it is actually one that I encourage everyone to get, especially for those folks who have kids who want to make games. It's kind of fun. It's kind of getting common now when you go to you go to an elementary school and you ask kids, what do they want to do when they grow up, and they say, I want to make games. At least it is more common now than it was when I was a kid. So this book, it's called A Theory of Fun. Specifically, it's called A Theory of Fun for Game Design by Raph Koster. It's written in such a way that I think most can follow it. It is relatively short and relatively simple. Really, he goes into talking about what a game is not, what we can learn from games, and lots of really good stuff. But he then gets into what makes a game fun, which is something, Amanda, you are a critic of some occasionally. Right now, you let other people critique.
I do.
But you have been known to review a game, or at the very least, you and I both sit and think about whether or not things are fun. because we have to. It's part of what we do. So he has a theory, hence the book, that includes 9 things, 9 elements that he believes are necessary in order to classify a game as fun.
Okay.
So what I thought I would do, because this is 2 parts. Number 1, I want to talk to you about it because I think that you are one of the smartest people I know, and you know a lot of stuff about this. I wanted to hear your thoughts, and we could chat about it. And then the second piece is this is going to be kind of gearing me up, Oreo, for a project and very likely a new podcast. So, and you're helping me prepare. This is multitasking
Awesome.
because that's what content
Let's do
creation
it.
is. Okay, so the first one. And this is right from his book. We're going to leave a link to the Amazon link in the description. Please buy it using that link because that helps keep the lights on and all that. So first, he calls them games that are fun because he believes that a game is, with very few exceptions, he does believe that the goal of a game is to have fun for the most part. I think in the beginning he does say that there are some exceptions, but in general, a game is trying to be fun. So he says a successful game will incorporate the following elements. So the first one is preparation. So before taking on a given challenge, the player gets to make some choices that affect their odds of success. This might be healing up before a battle, handicapping the opponent, or practicing in advance. You might set up a strategic landscape, such as building a particular hand of cards in a card game. Prior moves in a game are automatically part of the preparation stage because all games consist of multiple challenges in sequence. So this, to me, was something that I had never thought about, but man, I used to raid in World of Warcraft.
Same.
So, before going to fight a boss, the period of time where everybody puts all their buffs on everybody else, and the raid leader tells us, okay, this is what phase 1 is going to be like, etc. I remember those feelings, that feeling of tension building as we prepared to complete a task. And it's something that I really took for granted and didn't realize how important it was to the whole experience. What do you think?
I think that especially when we're looking at games that are mechanic heavy, like an MMO or something like Dark Souls that is clearly very skill based, the preparation is part of making sure that the player has what they need in order to get the task done, which empowers them to have fun. I think that is it's an integral step, sure. When I think about all of the times where I've had to sit back and prepare, also when I did raids in World of Warcraft, although my version of that many years ago at this point was Star Wars The Old Republic. That is my beloved MMO. You know, before we sat back and we did a flashpoint, that's what we ended up doing, is making sure that we were buffed up and everything like that. But even now, when I think about playing some of the newer games that I play, including Anthem, you know, our preparation is now going to the Forge, which is making sure that we have the right weapons equipped, that we have the right gear equipped, so that we are leveled up for that specific portion of a mission. So we can go out and we can do the mission, or that we can tackle a stronghold, or that we can go out into the free play world outside of Fort Tarsis and do some world events. So yeah, I think that's really important, and it's not something I think I've ever really thought about either.
Yeah, me either. How about I'm gonna throw out another example of, you know, quote unquote preparation in a game that is a little different from some of the ones we've talked about. What about that opening island in Fortnite?
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not really preparation, but there is that build-up, right? Like you're there, everybody's kind of popping in. Most people just run around whacking each other with whatever their pickaxes are. But like, you're getting ready, right? Like the crew is assembling, and also there's the battle bus flying across the map. Where we dropping, guys, is that is a phrase that I honestly never heard until people were using it ironically with Tetris 99. But now I hear my kids, because, you know, everybody like, where are we dropping, bro? Now we know what it means, right? Because we're dropping, because it's Battle Royale and it's Tetris, whatever. But now my kids use it now when they're playing Apex Legends or they're playing Fortnite, and that is a sense of preparation too, right? Like they're making a conscious decision. I used to think that those games were really not, that they were kind of random, but now it's like no. Clearly there is a strategy there. Where you land matters. The only reason I didn't think there was a strategy is because I didn't play a lot. So anyway, all right. So number one, preparation. So I think we both agree with Mr. Koster. I have a feeling we're going to agree with most of what he says because he's very smart. Next, a sense of space. The space might be a landscape of a war game, a chessboard, the network of relationships between the players during a game of bridge. I think this one kind of goes without saying. Like, you can't really have a game without knowing where it is.
Where the boundaries are.
Exactly.
Agreed.
So that one doesn't need a huge amount of explanation, but I think some examples are the Tetris board, the island on Fortnite. Like, that is a character.
Or even social games. So if we're talking about social tabletop experiences, games of deduction, right? So we're talking about relationships between players, like in a game like 13 Clues.
Oh, perfect. So. Yeah, really good. And then once you throw in chessboard, just the analog to literally every other board game. Like, where the game is taking place, even if the action is between those players. Next, this one is going to speak to both of us. It needs a solid core mechanic. This is a puzzle to solve, an intrinsically interesting rule set into which content can be poured. An example might be moving a piece in chess. The core mechanic is usually a fairly small rule. The intricacies of games come from either having a lot of mechanics or having very few, very elegant chosen ones. And I think that we both, I mean...
It's important. It's like when you pick up a game that again, like one of the big examples that I can talk about is the loop in Anthem, the loop in Destiny, where you're going through, you're doing the mission, you're getting the loot, you're getting it decrypted, you're re-equipping, you're prepping, and like that kind of a loop is really satisfying. So that in a game like in a loot shooter, oh my god, I can't believe that is an actual thing that we have now.
Oh, but a schluter?
A schluter? Oh.
That's not actually a thing. That's not really a thing.
No, thanks, I hate it.
looter shooters a thing.
Yeah, like I mean it's that kind of thing, or squad-based tactics games, where that loop has to be really solid. Otherwise, it's pointless. It's meaningless. Where the tactics that you're implementing just don't make a ton of difference. So yeah, same thing in tabletop wargaming. So
yeah, you got to have the thing you do often over and over and over again has to really be well implemented and
crafted.
For those that want a more obvious example, I think let's just talk about jumping in Super Mario Brothers.
Sure, absolutely.
And we compare that to the jumping in Treasure Stacker.
I wish you guys could see my face right now.
It's not. I mean, but that subtle change. I mean, imagine if you could have jumped like Mario in that game. It would have been a very different game.
Very different experience.
Correct. So yeah, solid core mechanic, and you'll find like the bulk of game development, if you talk to game developers, is narrowing down that core mechanic. And I really do like the way he phrased an intrinsically interesting rule set into which content can be poured.
Very smart.
That's Anthem, that's The Division, that's World of Warcraft, that's Super Mario Brothers, that's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that's all of them. Next, a range of challenges. This is basically content, is what he says. It does not change the rules. It operates within the rules and brings slightly different parameters to the table. Each enemy you might encounter in the game is one of these. I think this one's pretty straightforward. If everything was... I think there are some exceptions. For example, like, Dark Souls, everything is really hard, right?
Yes, incredibly hard.
So, but I think, everyone will find them differently difficult, and I think different people will struggle with different stuff. So I think that might be, but still, it's not the same thing over and over again. right?
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Fair enough. Next one is a range of abilities required to solve the encounter. Basically, what he says is if all you have is a hammer and you can only do one thing with it, then the game is going to be dull. This is the test that tic-tac-toe fails, but that checkers meets. In the game of checkers, you start learning the importance of forcing another player into disadvantageous jumps. Most games unfold abilities over time until at high levels you have as many possible stratagems to choose from. Correct. This is another thing that I really didn't think about much, but it makes sense.
Yeah, this is something I have thought about quite a bit because I've spent so many years playing MMOs, and the best MMOs are the ones that slowly fold you into the loop. They just slowly drip out these powers and the builds and the skills and everything like that, so they're not overwhelming you all at once. And it's the same kind of thing in Japanese RPGs especially, is they're not going to load you up with all of your spells or all of your skills all at the same time. So yeah, this is definitely something that means a lot to me as a player, because I have a tendency to get really overwhelmed if there's too many things on a screen, because I don't know where to look. And because I'm an ex-graphic designer, it really bothers me when the UX is bad, when the user experience is bad. And that comes from a lack of onboarding and everything like that. So yeah, definitely. It's such an important piece of having an enjoyable game.
Sure. And we don't want to be bored, the idea of sometimes games are really short, but sometimes some of the games that you and I play are dozens of hours long. And in the case of MMOs, they are infinity hours long.
They're as long as you want them to be. I mean, Greece is a really interesting example of a game that introduces mechanics in a very short amount of time, but does so in a way that makes sense for the storytelling of the game, and it increases the challenge and the puzzle and everything like that. So yeah, it's an important thing even in short games.
Greece, for those wondering, it's spelled Gris. Look it up on YouTube. It's relatively inexpensive and on everything.
It's
by
on
now.
Everything, yeah.
By now.
Ready Player Mom we have a video on demand of my Ready Player Mom of Greece, and I also wrote about it on Game Daily.
Yeah, I really
love Greece.
I wish I liked it, but it's beautiful. It's okay. Beautiful. It's not for everybody. Yeah, definitely the example that I use, because it's not for everyone, but it is absolutely stunning. So if nothing else, you owe it to yourself to look at a few stills. Somebody put some screenshots on Instagram somewhere, I'm sure. Just look it up. Gris. Next. Excuse me. Skill required in using the abilities. Bad choices lead to failure. The skill can be of any sort, really. Resource management, failures in timing, failures in physical dexterity, or failures to monitor all the variables that are in motion. Failures to monitor all the variables that are in motion. That is why I am bad sometimes at Tetris 99. So much going on. But that makes sense. This all makes sense, right? Like a really good game is one that will require skill. Because you want to feel tested. Because if you're not tested, if you're not making meaningful choices, who cares?
Exactly. So games like Portal, games like Project Cars 2, which is a driving simulator, which is incredibly punishing. It's an incredibly punishing game. It's the Dark Souls of racing
did
games.
You just say that?
Yeah,
you're not wrong, but
I did. But I'm actually right. It is that hard, but it's so satisfying because when you actually get better at the game, it feels better to play because you feel like a rock star. You're like, man, look at me go! I'm actually drifting around this corner and I didn't end up hydroplaning. Go me! It feels good. And even if we're looking at games that don't require an incredibly high amount of skill, like Portal, for example, you're not necessarily that's not a Twitch mechanic, but you're solving a puzzle, and you're solving a puzzle with portals, which is great. And once you solve that, it feels awesome.
We have 3 more things. A variable feedback system. Basically, the results of encounter should not be completely predictable. Ideally, greater skill in completing the challenge should lead to better rewards.
Yep,
makes
sense. Good sense. Absolutely. And we can bring that back to Anthem. where you get better badges if you are participating with friends, or depending on your play style, you can increase your experience points at the end of an encounter.
Yep.
So, yeah, makes good sense.
If you are better at Fortnite, you get a victory royale. I mean, straight up, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
I've never had one of those. I wonder what it feels like.
My son Jake has had 3. He is very good at games. This is gonna be
My youngest son is too.
And I think it's because it's kind of like Bane. He was born in it, right? Like that whole thing, and
Molded it.
molded by it. Yeah, he's just ready. And I mean, also, it's a function of time. He really, whereas Evan plays a lot of different games, Jacob's just like, nope, I don't want to play Fortnite. And if you do something over and over again, and you read about something, and if you watch people do it, and are really good at assimilating that knowledge, I think that's total side note. I think that kids who are able to learn from YouTubers are giving themselves a skill set that not many of us have. Like being able to watch a tutorial and like actually put that into use is a skill that not many adults have. You know what I mean? Like how many times
unless they're graphic designers or animators or whatever. But yeah, like it's definitely not something that, say, like somebody working in just a regular job is going to be doing a whole ton of.
I work
you gotta be knowledgeable.
I work in insurance. Is my day job.
Got it.
And I can tell you, I work in an office, and whenever they put out like a video tutorial for a new piece of software, it is very clear who is going to learn from that and who is going to struggle with it. And I think moving forward, the people that are going to do well with it are the people that are good at watching Let's Players and emulating their activity. Because it's basically what it is. It's just a really bad Let's Play. Anyway, so, yeah.
What else we got?
So, next, last 2, because I know we're running out of time. You have a hard stop soon.
All right.
So, the mastery problem must be dealt with, meaning there is an issue called the mastery problem that needs to be dealt with for a successful game. It says high-level players can't get big benefits from easy counters, or they will bottom feed. Inexpert players will be unable to get the most out of the game. So basically, good games deal with that problem. And that's the end game. That's also, where you have games where just they reward skill, even if there's no levels. You're right, like Super Mario Brothers.
They're going to reward you based on how quickly you can get through a level.
Yep.
Because you're clearly demonstrating higher level skill than maybe you were at level 1.
Exactly. If you've watched my mom play Super Mario Brothers, the first time she ever played it, versus the guy who holds the world record, he is rewarded for his skill by a faster time. And so lastly, failure must have a cost. At the very least, there is an opportunity cost, and there may be more. Next time you attempt a challenge, you are assumed to come into it from scratch. There are no do-overs. The next time you try, you may be prepared differently. So, I mean, games are all about failure. Yep. Fail again, fail better, fail faster.
Fail smarter.
Fail smarter, yes. And games, they have a cost, right? You lose a life, you get a game over, you have to repair your gear, you might lose everything in the case of Dark Souls. Some of it's just time, right? You lose in Pokemon, you lose time. It's not a big deal. But it does happen to have a cost.
I spent a whole podcast talking about health and hit points in video games, and that as a, as a mechanic in and of itself and what it actually means. So yeah, I spent like an hour and a half talking about this last weekend.
That's what you were tweeting about?
Yeah.
So these are the elementary particles, as he refers to them, of a successful game. What do you think? Do you think that's pretty? I don't want to call it succinct because that was a lot of stuff, but
that was definitely not succinct.
Pretty clear though.
But yeah, I think that there's a lot in there to like. I think that it creates a rudimentary rubric for understanding what good gameplay feels like. Whether or not that gameplay is tabletop or it's digital. And it doesn't apply to everything, which is nice also, because it doesn't necessarily apply to a game like Florence, which is an indie mobile game that's all about telling a story. It doesn't necessarily speak to Firewatch, which is, again, another very heavily narrative-driven game where it's not about your skill level, it's about experiencing the story.
Yeah.
So it's a very different kind of game that doesn't have, like, those kinds of games don't really fit into those categories, like, at all, because they don't have a loop, they don't really have anything else like that. It's just about the story, it's just about the narrative experience and enjoying the surroundings. So I think outside of that, like, most mainstream games that people are going to be playing, they fit firmly in that rubric. So that's neat. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind and potentially pick up that book.
It's pretty cheap. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
So that is A Theory of Fun by Raph Koster.
Love it.
So, folks, I'd love to hear what you guys think. So please head on into the community, which you can get to at engagefamilygaming.com/community. Share your thoughts. I'm going to be using this as, some of these questions as, how I talk to some kids about some of the games they're playing, probably for another podcast we'll be doing. But I think that brings us to the end. So this has been episode 167 of Engage, a Family Gaming Podcast. I hope that you enjoyed listening as much as Amanda and I enjoyed recording it.
We'll be back. Have fun.
We do. We'll be back next week, where we will be talking about board games. So Linda will be joining us again. And we'll be talking about all kinds of stuff, man. This last couple weeks have been kind of bananas. But in the meantime, I do have two favors that I'd like to ask. Number one, everyone listening to the show knows someone else who needs to hear it. So if you would be so kind, I'd love it if you would do whatever it takes. Smoke signals, send them some snail mail. I don't know. Or just, like leave a link on their Facebook page. I'm not sure. Be creative. Because bigger audience means bigger access. You know how that goes. The second piece is, if you can't do that, I get it. What you can do, and this is super simple, just head on over to the podcast service you listen to and leave us a review. Positive reviews or even neutral reviews are really great, because more reviews means that the podcast services actually think people are listening to us, and then they will suggest us to more people, which again, more audience means more reach, which means more opportunity for us to do cool stuff. So I do hope you have been having a wonderful day, and I'm glad that you listened. We'll see you next week. And until then, don't forget to get your family game on. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Engage, a family gaming podcast. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week.